loose right now, these prisoners?
Well, through the MPRI program, there is a push to get folks out of prison as soon as possible. And we've seen the population drop from 52,000 to 45,000. And there's been no similar drop in the crime rates. In fact, as David said, our crime rates are very high in Michigan. Our per capita police officers are the lowest in this region. Our unsolved crime rate is the highest. And our commitment to prison is, I don't know if it's the lowest in the country, but it's very low. In fact, people are sometimes fearful that someone will commit a felony first time, screw up, and go to prison for years and years. Only about 10 or 11% of our felons are sentenced to prison as an initial part of their sentence. And then approximately another 10% may be sentenced as a probation violation. But 80% of felons are not put in prison. So, when folks say, hey, the ones I let out, they aren't that bad. No, they have to be magna cum laude to get in there in the first place. We have, in Michigan, we have sentencing guidelines that are based on prior record variables, what you've done in the past, and offense variables, what you've done in this sentencing offense, to measure, you have a bad record, how bad is what you did, okay? And you have to have a terrible record or have committed a very heinous crime to see prison in the first place. Only 11% of people do that. The rest are probation screw-ups. So we're talking about the worst of our worst.
And when they come out earlier and they go on an MPRI program, what we're finding is we have 3 cases now that are sex offenders coming out earlier than they ordinarily would have, and guidelines of the parole board says that each of those individuals should have a psychiatric exam before being released. So I know what kind of programming to put them in. They didn't even follow their own guidelines. That was part of our appeal, is that they aren't following their own rules. So not only the commutation, but the early release and the rules being violated because of the numbers you indicated that the paroles are coming out faster and faster. The parole board is not paying attention to detail.
And you're right, and those are the things you want to check on before you let a sex offender out of prison, okay? And if there's no rush to get them out, the Department of Corrections should be able to do their job, which I think for many years they have done an admirable job. I consider them mostly to be brothers and sisters in arms, but in the last year, I am now for the first time appealing the Department of Parole, something I thought I'd never do.
Another whole category of caseload for us.
Absolutely, and it's more work for us. Is it more work that costs more money? Well, no. It's more work that's just taking us more time right now.
Resources from here and putting them over there.
Absolutely, and with somewhat finite resources, when you work on one thing, you can't work on the other thing. And it's terrible, and we do the best we can. Nobody works harder than the prosecutors in this state and the police in this state.
Well, it kind of takes the heart out of you. If you work as hard as you do, put them in there and see them coming out. So, you know, we only have a few minutes left.
Sure.
How do you head this off? I mean, how do you stop it from happening? Is there a way, Byron? Is there a way, Tom? Is there a way, you know?
Well, through Vic and his efforts, we've been trying to conduct press conferences across the state, inform the public about the real dollars, the ramifications of these decisions, and that the governor can say in her speech that she's not putting anyone at risk, that this is, you know, the citizens are safe, but we know that the stats are different.
Public education is great, because if I'm a state rep, if I'm a state senator, I want my constituency to be happy with what I'm doing. The constituency needs to know these are the worst folks out there that go to prison. we're letting the worst of the worst out, okay? And then the lawmakers need to take that into consideration. And I'll tell you what, we're prosecutors. The press, TV, radio, they do a great job at shining light where there is none. When I come to you and say, we let 7,000 people go, we closed 8 facilities, the budget didn't drop, that's something people should be jumping up and down to get their Pulitzer Prize for, okay? There's a problem.
We'll each be contacting our local legislators and keeping them informed, and hopefully they get the governor's ear, at least in this last year that she's in office.